Welcome to the SAP Developers Channel. I'm Max. I have a special guest with me today, Jeffrey Groneberg. Is that pronounced in the right way, Jeff?
Yeah, that's fine. Yeah.
Okay.
Hello,
Perfect.
everybody.
Thanks for coming on. I'm super proud and excited to talk to you today. Our topic will be Google Chrome extensions for the Devtoberfest. And I know that you've developed a Chrome extension. That's how I got attracted somehow. Before we go into the actual topic, do you want to let us know what you're doing at SAP?
Yeah, I'm currently working as a cloud solution architect within SAP IEG. That's mostly known as SAP IT. So we are responsible for everything, for all the tools that's been running and rolled out for the SAP employees. And what am I doing in my position? I'm working in the so-called platform COE department. And we are maintaining and running the SAP IT cloud accounts. And we have hundreds of applications running there. And so our job is to assure that all our internal cloud tools are running flawlessly. And furthermore, we also help easing the daily life of every SAP employee with these applications and tools. And we assure that these tools are running 24/7.
Okay, awesome.
And there's another big topic. Yeah, sorry.
Go on, Jeff.
Yeah, there's another big topic within our team, and that's not only running these tools and these apps, it's also sharing our cloud development and operation knowledge within SAP and IT. And therefore, we are doing classroom trainings and consultant jobs and everything that is necessary that apps can be developed and can be run within SAP.
And taking care of kids, as we hear in the background.
Oh yeah, you can hear it. Okay, maybe I have to
good.
yell at the top that. Yeah, it's my newborn. He's just 2 months old, so I can't tell him to to stay quiet.
It's all fine. We're all in the same situation.
Okay, good. Sorry for that.
That's all good. So what that means at the end of the day, in terms of your expertise technically and also functional.
Yeah, this means technically I'm asset. I'm dealing every day with cloud technology, especially with the SAP Cloud Platform. In the past, we have developed a lot of internal applications and maintained applications for the Neo platform. And since 2 years, we are specializing in SAP Cloud Foundry. And therefore, we are also doing then the classroom trainings and all the stuff and sharing the knowledge there. I'm mainly developing with Java. So the last month, I'm also doing a lot of stuff with Golang because I'm interested. And due to the hype that's been around it. So I try to diverse a little bit my technology skills. But as said, mainly all the stuff that's been running in SAP Cloud Platform.
Awesome. I mean, I've seen a lot of stuff by you with regards to Go libraries for XSUA. A wonderful blog post about all sorts of demystifying the XSUA service on SAP Cloud Platform. And that perfectly fits into, I think, the topic of today, a Chrome extension you've developed. So what was the motivation behind of building a Chrome extension for your actual problem? And the actual problem for sure as well.
Yeah, exactly. So in our daily life as developers and working with Cloud Foundry, we have to work with the XSUA component. The XSUA component is within the Cloud Foundry space, the component to secure your backends and to have a security over your whole landscape. And with dealing this component, there are some things that are quite time consuming. And therefore, I thought that it would make sense to build a workaround with a Chrome extension. And why using a Chrome extension? Because a Chrome extension can be developed quite fast, and you have immediate results. And and it's easy. It's HTML5 and JavaScript, and we have a lot of documentations and tutorials available in the internet.
Okay, nice. So what was your actual problem you wanted to solve?
Yeah, the actual problem was, let me just show you. I think you can see my screen. Yeah, so the actual problem was that, exactly. So my motivation, as I said, is when we are working as classroom trainers or as developers, there's a lot of well, there comes the time when you have developed your backend, you have secured it within the SAP Cloud Foundry, and you have a web service, and now you want to just send an HTTP request to this web service. And the problem is when you have secured it so that it needs to have a valid JWT from the XSUAA, you also have to get this JWT and you have to add it to the headers. Otherwise, the backend will say, no, you are not allowed to get access to. And yeah, there are now. Sorry?
All good. Just
okay.
keep going.
Yeah, and now you have different options how to get a JWT. I mean, you can now just develop your own stuff and get the JWT. But the easiest thing is just to go into the cockpit, then copy the credentials out of your instance that you have there, and then just do an OAuth 2 flow, because the XSUAA is implementing the OAuth flow, and so you just have to trigger it by yourself. And in the end, you should get an access token. And that's what you see here. So as a developer, you just use the XSUAA OAuth 2 API, then you leverage it from the XSUAA. The XSUAA creates a JWT, and now comes the time-consuming stuff. Then you have to copy and paste it. Then you have to send to the backend. And I think the time-consuming part is not 3 and 4. The time-consuming part is 1 and 2, just correct me. Mm-hmm. So just remember, if you're doing this once, it's fine. But if you do this, for example, for a lot of participants of your classroom training, then it takes really some time. And so instead of just doing this manually, I thought, okay, I've done this now 10 times and 20 times. So yeah, let's just develop something that can ease this. Mm-hmm. And so my idea was that it would be really great if we go into the cockpit and just have the possibility to click somewhere and then we get the JWT. So I just can copy and paste it. So I can give you an example. So I have prepared just the page here. So let me just log into the cockpit of SAP Cloud Foundry, Cloud Platform.
By the way, do you want to hide this sharing information on the bottom of the page?
Yeah, of course I can hide it. Oh, I have to hide it another time. Yeah, there we go. So as you can see here, yeah, these are valid credentials. So yeah, be reminded I will remove this instance immediately after the recording. So it doesn't matter if these are now the secrets and stuff. So what you see here is you have here the credentials that can be used for triggering the OAuth 2 flow with the XSUAA component. And there you go. There you can see that I have 2 buttons. Yeah, guess what? These 2 buttons are not initially there. So these things needs then to be done manually. So I would now have to copy the client secret, then construct the URL just to give you an idea how this URL looks. I have to copy and paste this, then paste the URL here, then paste the client ID here. I make a request. Then once again, I have to put it in another URL and also make the request there. So let me just show you how this looks without the extension. So yeah, it's just the buttons I just disable the page, I just reload it. It's just the cockpit. There is nothing faked, or I'm just reloading the cockpit and now the XSUAA instance.
And by the way, in the meantime, while this is loading, this is, as a disclaimer, I think not an officially supported extension. It's just developed by you for your purposes, right?
Exactly. It's just for me. And it's just one extension I've developed for my own purpose, but it's just possible to share it with whoever needs it. And so you can see the buttons that are now gone. That's because I have disabled my extension. Yeah? So if I just put it on once again and reload it, then the buttons are there. And I just show you once again how fast it's now and how much time it is saving on my side. Yeah? So instead of constructing and copy and pasting all this stuff, I just have this button and I just click on authorization code flow. It's now constructing the URL. Yeah, it's giving me a certificate login. And there we go. There's the JWT I can just copy and paste.
Awesome.
And in the training and during development, this is just nice because, yeah, I just have to copy it and now add it to a bureau assertion, to the authorization header as a bureau. And then my backend will accept it as valid.
Awesome.
So, yeah, that's my motivation. And yeah, I just started doing this. And
awesome. I mean, that's already a good transition to, well, keep going. You already have like the next slide.
Yeah, perfect. Sorry, I just clicked it because I wanted to prepare it. Yeah, it's fine. the things I now had options to do this. One option would be to create some kind of Postman collection or things like this, where I just have some templates and the HTTP requests are then fired by Postman or any other REST client that is available there. I could have built my own CLI tool and doing this. But the thing is, when I use the Chrome extension, then I can use a lot of features that are already there in the browser. And for example, the session handling means if I'm doing my own CLI, I would have to take care of the session handling because at some point I would have to log in at an identity provider. The certificate handling, for example, as an SAP employee, we have SSO certificates. The browser knows how to do this. So yeah, just reuse it. The redirects on the summer flow, the access to the tabs and the page lifecycle via APIs. So for example, I can, with the Chrome extension, I can leverage the features of opening a URL and then scanning the URL. And that's pretty cool because when the OAuth callback redirect comes in as a Chrome extension, it's pretty easy that I then just grab the callback URL and do then my stuff afterwards.
Nice.
But
so simply recapping, Jeff, just in a second. So what you did is instead of building your own CLI and all the authentication things, you simply added 2 buttons to the page.
Yeah.
Crawled the information from the XSUA service key, and then constructed that URL to get the token. Instead of doing all the surroundings, it's simply, quote unquote, adding the 2 buttons instead of building a whole application.
Yeah, exactly. That's it. And I just thought that, you can do a seamless UI integration with the Chrome extension because I'm just hooking into the cockpit, what's already there, and just adding my buttons, and that's it. And just giving some functionality behind it.
Nice.
Yeah.
If you have further points to that point, otherwise I would go on with probably, because I'm super curious. I haven't built my own extension yet. I mean, everybody's using certain extensions. How had you started with informing yourself, investigating, researching of what's actually needed and how to get started?
Yeah, exactly. So I was starting from scratch because first of all, I'm a backend developer, so for me it was even a little bit more more interesting to get back to JavaScript and HTML5 stuff. I've done this 10 years ago. So as said, the extension was just like, okay, it's just HTML5 and JavaScript, so what could possibly go wrong? Yeah. So the first thing that you should know when starting with this extension is, or the good thing is, there are many tutorials out there. So if you just Google for Google Chrome extension tutorial, you will get 100 hits with just some small tutorials. To be honest, I really followed the official Google dev page, just around the extensions. The link is there, so just the official page. And there you've been really guided step by step. They also built an application and an extension, and there you get guided through the whole life cycle of this extension. So you start really with a small one and then being further led to extended APIs and stuff like this. But cool. I think the most important thing is that you understand the anatomy of a Chrome extension. And there are some things that you should get in your mind. And then, just download VS Code or any other editor and turn on the developer mode in Chrome or any other Chromium-based browser. And then you can start developing. Yeah. So the anatomy of a Chrome extension is always the same. As said in the beginning, it might be a little bit confusing, but it's just 4 things. Yeah. So you have a manifest.json. That's just some kind of a meta information about what you are developing, about your Chrome extension. So there you define the permissions to the APIs. You remember when you install an extension, you always get such a permission tab where you grant an extensions the right to do things. That's what you are doing in the manifest.json. Then you have some kind of a content script JS, and the content script is there just to target a URL. Means when you are loading a URL in your browser, you can say that whenever this URL is being loaded, this JavaScript file should be started side loading to the content of this page. So for example, in my case, it was like that I have a content script, especially for the cockpit URLs. And then what's happening is when the page is being loaded, then what Chrome is doing, it is just adding the content script JS, your JavaScript, just like you have added it in a special script tag in the same page.
Mm-hmm.
And there you have access to the whole DOM and can do whatever you would do when you have developed this page on your own. And that's pretty cool because there I can then add buttons and then I can give those buttons functionalities.
Mm-hmm.
And I think the most important thing to understand is that if you want to leverage the Google Chrome APIs, this means, for example, sending cross-domain requests, cross-origin domain requests, and doing other stuffs like opening tabs or checking the URL of tabs or doing all the other things that Google Chrome is giving you as an API. This needs to be done in a so-called background JS. So this background JS is the long-living script that's just surviving reloads of pages. It's just, in essence, it's the core of the extension.
Okay.
And so if you want to leverage Chrome APIs, then you have to call them in these background scripts. And this is something that you have to get in your mind, that you have to, for example, call from your content script stuff in your background script, that this background script is then calling the Google Chrome API.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and then you can also have some custom files like custom UIs. So for example, a lot of Chrome extensions have some kind of pop-up buttons at the very right upper part of the Chrome browser, where you can click and get some configuration UI and stuff like this. That's what you can provide in the custom UI files.
Awesome.
Yeah, and to be honest, that's it. Yeah, so you only have to remember these 4 parts and just stick with this paradigm, and then you can do all cool stuff then with pages that are already there, manipulating them, adding functionalities, doing your own stuff. Yeah, that's pretty nice. It's pretty cool.
Okay, so Jeff, that all sounds super simple, how to get started, where to find information and resources, but probably that's all too simple. So what were the issues and challenges you had initially?
Yeah, so the issues are also the good things of the Chrome extensions. So Google's has heavy restrictions when using Chrome extensions. Means whatever you are doing have to be either been put in the permission in the manifest.json, or you have to do the stuff in the background JS. So I will just talk a little bit about the restrictions. So Google offers a lot of different APIs, so you can do with the Chrome browser whatever you want in an extension. Yeah? So it's like it's like controlling the Chrome browser. You have so many APIs. You can add tabs, you can reload tabs, you can close the Chrome browser, you can do crazy stuff with the Chrome browser. Everything that is possible, in my opinion. But as said, everything you do needs to be listed in the manifest .json. So for example, if I go in my manifest.json, you can see that I wanted to have access to the clipboard, I wanted to have access to the tab, I wanted to have access to the active tab. And you also have to list all the URLs where you want to make calls to. That's as said, these are the restrictions that you have to work with within the Chrome extensions.
And that's for a good reason, right? That an end user has to
for a good
accept
reason.
it.
Yeah. And the thing is, you can also put in an asterisk. Yeah. So that's also possible. But in the end, the user has to trust this. And as said, you have complete control over the browser. And it might be possibly there's a possibility that, for example, if you are entering username and password, that the Chrome extension might just grab your username and your password and send it to a backend somewhere else. Yeah. So it's very important that when you also install scripts on your own, that you always check what's going on in this permissions array. Yeah. What are the URLs? What is the extensions doing? Mm-hmm. And that's very good because as said, that's good and bad as a developer because you always have to work within these restrictions. So for example, as I already mentioned, you have only access to API in this background JS scripts means the Chrome runtime is offering you some kind of a messaging system where you can send then messages to your background scripts. And these messages might then, for example, trigger opening a new tab or reloading a tab and stuff like this. In the beginning, it's a little bit, you have to get used to this because you cannot just call a function. You have to send a message and then wait for a response from your background script.
Okay.
That's how you would communicate with each other. Yeah, as said, also the content scripts. The content scripts will be applied only to URLs that you have listed in this in this manifest. So you can see here, as I said, I have developed the buttons that's been added to the cockpit are in this content.js script. But this content.js script is only side loaded to URLs that I have listed here.
Mm-hmm.
So means if I'm not on a page in URL, then the Chrome will just not load this content.js script. So you can say, okay, whenever a user is entering the cockpit, please apply then the content.js script so that my extension can be used on this page.
Okay.
And then we are also at another part. It might be that Chrome extensions are interfering with each other. So I'm pretty sure that you came to the point where you have installed two extensions. I can remember during my study time, it was pretty cool to have this YouTube downloader where you can get some songs as MP3s or stuff like this. And if you have installed two Chrome extensions doing the same stuff, then both did not work because they interfere with each other. That's also some stuff that might happen in your extensions. As said, the messaging between the components, sending messages from content scripts to background scripts, you have to get used to. But there's a good API and documentation available on the page. So with a lot of examples. So if you are sending normal AJAX requests and normal HTTP requests with futures and promises, this might be just what you get used to as a front-end developer.
Awesome. Well, that leads me probably to a dumb question. You scratched already what technology you used, but do you want to rephrase more or less the tech stack you used? Like HTML5, you already told us for the buttons probably on the SAP Cloud Platform Cockpit, JavaScript for the background scripts. But is there anything else involved or any other possibilities?
I'm pretty sure that you can use, for example, if you are building a really big Chrome extension, that you might use TypeScript for compiling it, do some TypeScript stuff, and then using this TypeScript then within the Chrome extensions. I'm pretty sure this is possible. But for this simple extension I have built, it was really just plain JavaScript and using some HTML tags. That's it.
Okay.
So
you escaped the Java world?
I escaped the Java world. Yeah. It was fine. I'm still living. It's okay.
Surprising.
I mean, no. I really have to admit that when you are doing a lot of back-end work, what's really cool is building web applications is that you have immediate feedback, that you have immediate results what you are building, and that's really cool because it might sound stupid, but on one display you have your IDE open, and on the other display you have the browser open, and whatever you change in the IDE is immediately reflected in the browser. And that's a feeling. Of course, with modern languages, with modern frameworks and backends, you almost get the same feeling because it's refreshing and the recompiling, and you have immediate feedback, but it's different building a UI than building a backend. That's just some different feeling. Yeah. So, and I liked it. It's really cool.
Nice digression. Awesome.
Yeah.
I do have still one question on my list because you said, Chrome extensions based on Chromium technology. Does that mean that this extension basically can run also in Microsoft Edge, as this is Chromium based?
I have not tried it on my own, but as Edge is based on Chromium, I would pretty sure say it's been running there too. As you can see, I'm not running Chrome here, so I'm also using another browser. So it's also based on Chromium,
Oh,
and as
nice.
you can see, it's also running just in a Chromium engine, just in another browser, not just Chrome. Yeah, and
Cool.
my colleagues that are using the extensions are running Chrome, and it's running there without a problem. The good
Okay.
thing is if you are developing this on your own, then you can just use within the extension, you can just use load unpacked. Um, and then it's just opening, and then you just have to open the folder where the manifest.json is in it, and then it will immediately just load the extension within your browser, and then you can just have it
So there's
when you have
no,
to develop. Yeah.
sorry for interrupting you. So there's no necessity to go through the official process of publishing on a marketplace, going through the security checks probably. I mean, it's
No.
the unsafer way to provide the source code or the manifest JSON, but still,
Yeah.
if you trust the developer, and I do trust you, you can
Yeah.
simply import it.
Exactly. Yeah, exactly. You can just clone the Git repository and just use the load unpack, go to the Git repository, and then it's there.
Cool.
That's yeah. The thing is with this Chrome extension, we have dynamic URLs in the cockpit. So it might be that a customer or another developer is running in another cockpit or is using another XSUA instance based on his account. So this means that it's hard to get such an extension into the marketplace because the manifest.json needs to, as said, it needs to list this URL. But as it is dynamic, it might be better to just share it and let the user add the URL he wants to have this extension running then in the manifest, and then just load it dynamically in his developer extension.
Yeah, seems legit. Cool.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't say we are at the end of the discussion here. It's rather the other way around. Probably a more philosophical question. What would you do different if you develop your next extension, or if you would redevelop the extension you've already done?
Yeah, I also made some notes in regards to this. So
Okay.
one thing that you yeah, so one thing that's really hard is when developing Chrome extension is our single page applications, because as I said, these content scripts, they are applied to a certain URL. So it might be easy if there's an HTML page just loading, and then you know, okay, this script needs now to apply to the certain state of a page. Yeah. So but with single page application, it's a little bit harder because yeah, you have this URL, and then afterwards the user does some things, and the DOM that's been loaded is being extended and extended to a certain state that you as a developer, as a Chrome extension developer, are then interested in. Yeah? So for example, in my case, it was like, yeah, I knew that the user is now in the instance page of the cockpit, but I had to wait till the user was clicking some stuff that the credentials are then in the diff to be taken out of this. And this needs some kind of performance heavy work, because what you need to do is you have to register a listener that is always listening to the DOM changes. And then when you have the DOM element where you know for sure, and you can do this just by listening for a class or ID or stuff like this, then you will just cancel the listener and do your stuff. But until then, you are always listening to DOM change the event. And yeah, I remembered this function from my early days as a front-end developer, and then I read that it's deprecated. So a better approach nowadays would be to use a mutation observer. That's just a better API to use this. But nevertheless, it's also performance heavy to do this. And if I would have to improve it, I would put a lot of thinking in how can I get with less performance heavy stuff the state of the page where I can then react to these credentials. That would be something I would invest a lot of time. Another thing would be that I, instead of just waiting for the diff to appear, I would maybe just reuse the same API call the cockpit doing to get the instance, because I already have the session, I already have access to the API, I can just use the same session. And that's the cool thing, because I am in essence the same page. And then, yeah, why not just calling the same API to get the instance, and that's it. Not waiting for any DOM change events.
Mm-hmm.
What I would also improve is that I would add some kind of configuration where user can add their own URLs as a permission. Because as I said, now the user needs to define them in the manifest.json, but it would be even cooler if you as an extension developer can ask the user as some kind of a UI, hey, you can now tell me the permissions you want to have, give me access to the URLs.
Yeah.
And that's possible. I just read it after I have developed the extension that this might be possible with so-called runtime granted permissions. So you can give additional permissions, not only by design time, even further than at runtime. So the extensions can have permissions being added via URI from a user.
Okay. So since you've already built your first extension, I can remember when I touch APIs or whatever the first time, I do have already inspiration for building further things, if there would be capacity. Is there anything you have in mind with regards to like multiple future extensions you want to build?
Yeah, maybe. So as I said, as we are running a lot of applications within our account, we always have our special applications where we want to look further, or where we have to make a lot of actions within the cockpit. So I think a next extension that might be worth to develop, if not coming from as an official feature, of course, might be some kind of a favorite tab in the cockpit, where I can just have some kind of a star, and I'm in the application listing of a space, and I can just put a star onto the app, and then I can further then have it as a favorite tab in the list, in the initial cockpit list. Then I just click on the favorite tab, and then I have all the apps and have all the actions that might be appropriate to do with these apps. Like, for example, seeing which build pack they are using, stopping, rerunning it, binding it to other services, and things like this. Yeah, I think a favorite tab would be great as a Chrome extension. Things like this.
So that leads me to my probably last question and most important question. The things you've covered all boils down to solving problems, tedious problems, repetitive things you do in your day-to-day job, right?
Yeah.
So is there anything you would recommend to folks out there? I know we have been discussions or side discussions during a coffee recently, talking about what's missing probably from a developer point of view of observing problems you have repeatedly.
Yes, I think as a developer, you should, in my opinion, only repeat things to a maximum of 5 times, and it should be automated. I mean, we all have power, we all know how to automate things, and it's just saving time. I mean, if you are copy and pasting always stuff and creating URLs or creating any other things via a lot of clicks in some kind of a UI, or then think of just to automate it. And it's not only that you should do this for your own. You should always build things and then share it, at least with the people around you, sitting in your department and showing them what you have built. I'm not saying that you should share this stuff immediately with the world, because you might work under NDA, you might work under license restrictions, but at least show this to your colleagues, to your fellows, and try to optimize things. That's it. I mean, our whole developer's life is about optimizing things. That's why we are there. And optimizing small things will lead often to things that are bigger. That's just my opinion.
Yeah, I know. I mean, I have to admit, I do get along with problems relatively fast, like this OAuth2 flow. I do gotta admit that I said, like, yeah, I mean, that's the case. I do have Postman collections for that, but the extension is awesome. And I think there's another whole amount, not only in SAP Cloud Platform for sure, also outside that world, You just got to be brave enough and get started and probably publish the code, and don't be afraid of that somebody probably is, yeah, doing some kind of criticism or something like that.
Yeah, I mean, you always, as a developer, you should think both ways. I mean, first of all, you should never just say bad things about someone else's stuff. That's one thing I say, because um, uh, if you get something for free, you should not be bad about it. You should not talk bad about it. That's just the thing. And if you are open sourcing something or sharing code, you are doing two things. You are, for example, easing others' life because they use the tool on their own, and you often get, yeah, might be bad feedback. As I said, it's not very good, but you might get feedback, and you can only improve as a developer when you get feedback, and you can only get feedback if you share your stuff. That's the thing, and you should keep this mindset as a developer.
Absolutely, absolutely. Cool. Jeff, thank you so much for being with me. Thank you so much for your insights. Thanks also for sharing your GitHub, uh, your code on GitHub. We will link it in the enablement session. If
Yeah.
you have anything to add, um, feel free to wrap it up.
Yeah. Yeah. First of all, thank you very much that I was allowed to talk here and share some of my stuff. Some things might not be 100% academically correct, because I also started, this was my first Chrome extension. I'm happy that I'm allowed to share via the Devtoberfest this extension, because in my opinion, this will save some time. And I would be even more happy if people will improve it via pull request, if this is possible.
We'll take a look. Absolutely. Cool.
Yeah, yeah. So yeah, thank you very much. This was really cool.
You're welcome. And thanks for watching.